Hello everyone, back to you in today's first video. We're having a look at the JMA for today's first video, JMA Thursday. And we're going to have a look at the next 3 months with the Japanese model. He's going to take us through the whole of the spring period. So going through spring with the JMA today. Now, in a week's time, a week on Saturday, we're going to have the final seasonal model roundup for the spring, where we get something like 11 or 12 long-range models together and see what they're all showing in terms of the spring of 2017. The JMA will make up part of that spring season model roundup, but there's so much information you can get from the JMA that we won't have time to fit it all into that video because of course we're going to have another 10 or 11 models to look at, so we have to get through them quite quickly. So I always like to isolate out the JMA and have a look at it in its own terms and see what it's showing on a month by month basis. So that's what we're going to do for today's first video. Later on we'll have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days. That'll be with you this afternoon. But before we get on with JMA Thursday, the spring look ahead, just to say about the ads, there's links to articles on the page. Have a browse, click through links. You're going to help us page website. Thanks so much for doing that. There's also video ads, most pages, which own that content. When you watch them, they close back up again, and it does help to pay for the ads worthy. So we'll start off with the 500 millibar height anomalies for the next 3 months from the North Pole down. And then we'll have a look at the tropical and mid-latitude view, try and bring pin down the temperature and precipitation anomalies. So for the first month, which of course is going to be March, we start off with a trough of low pressure around the UK and western parts of Europe. So this looks like quite an unsettled month already into March. Further north, we've got all of this orange here around the polar region going down into Greenland. So it looks like this is quite a coldish signal actually for March. It looks like a very unsettled signal and possibly quite cold. I think the jet stream is on a southerly track, and we're probably doing something a little bit like that, with the jet stream going through the trough rather like that. So I think we could be pulling in the winds certainly from a northerly direction at times. Very unsettled month potentially in March, and also it could be quite a cool month as well. We go through into April and we're losing that trough, but we do still have a lot of yellow and orange up to the north. So still, it looks like we've got above average pressure really to the north of us. And then underneath it, we haven't got as much of a trough, so it's a drier signal for April. But I would have thought we could still be bringing in fairly cool winds, probably quite an easterly month there potentially in April. The trough is weaker, so it shouldn't be as unsettled. But fairly coolish signal, I think, still there as we go through into April. And then we go through into May, and what we see for May is that we've got above average height still to the north, and also going down into the Atlantic as well. And then to the east of that ridge, we just got near normal height. So again, I think probably fairly dry signal, but again, probably quite a coolish one as well, with the winds possibly coming in from the east, maybe even coming in from the northeast. We are raising the pressure a little bit to the south, however, through Spain into the Mediterranean. So there's a little bit of a fight going on, I would have thought, between this ridge out here and this ridge up here, and that ridge is trying to, of course, bring warmer air up from the south, but this ridge is trying to bring cooler air down from the north. So a very complicated, complex month for May, but overall nothing excessively warm showing up with the JMA, and certainly to start off with quite a cool or even cold signal early on. So let's have a look at the mid-latitude and tropical view now, try and pin down the detail in terms of temperature and precipitation anomalies. So, again, British Isles is just here in the top right-hand corner of the chart as you're looking at it. This, of course, is the equator. This is the southern hemisphere down here to the south of the equator. This is the northern hemisphere just here. And the polar regions are off the chart. So the South Pole is through there, and the North Pole, we just looked at North Pole, so I don't need to see it again, but North Pole is up there. And then the British Isles, as I say, is in the top right-hand corner of the chart as you're looking at it. For March, you start off with March again, we have that trough over the UK and extending into west of Europe over here, and then we've got quite a lot of ridging and blocking up to the north and the northwest. The precipitation anomaly for March is coming out wetter than average, so it does look like a fairly unsettled month in March, which is quite unusual because March is one of our drier months that we tend to have through the year, but this year, for JMA is right, looking like quite a wet month. Precipitation actually is coming out around average, maybe even a little bit above. So that's a bit surprising given the pattern. It did look like it should be quite a cold pattern, but the temperature anomaly from the JMA is on the milder side of average. Let's see if we can work out where the mean wind flow is coming from. And it's always hard to make these out, these black arrows, but I think essentially the mean wind flow is coming in from the north or the northwest. So you would have thought that's going to be quite a coldish month. Quite why the model is going for above average temperatures, I'm not sure, because based on the mean wind direction and the pressure distribution, that does look like it should be a fairly cool, perhaps even quite cold at times, and wet March. We go through into April, and we've still got the ridging out to the northwest of the country in April, but the trough has eased off. So you would expect this to be a slightly drier month, although the model is still going rather wet. It's still going wetter than average in April. So, well, we had a very dry winter, but if this is right, it looks like the next 2 months, March, April, are going to make up that rainfall deficit a little bit with above average precipitation in both of the months. The temperature anomaly, still nothing to get excited about, really. It's close to average, maybe hinting being a little bit above. So again, nothing really be excited about in terms of the temperatures. The mean wind direction looks like it's easterly or possibly even northeasterly. So again, quite why we're seeing above average temperatures there, I'm not sure. The mean wind direction looks like it's coming from the east. Of course, easterlies in April are not going to be as cold as easterlies in January, but it's not going to be a particularly warm direction in April, easterly winds, especially if there's a northeasterly component. So to me, it looks like March, April should both be a little bit on the cooler side, really. The model is going above average, and we can't ignore it, but sometimes these long-range models do overcut the temperatures a little bit, and I would reduce this much closer to average, maybe a little bit below for March and April, if the JMA is right. And then finally we go through to May, which looks like a very complicated pattern. We've still got this ridge out to the west. We've also got a ridge strengthening around Spain, so that's trying to bring up much warmer air from the south, but this ridge out to the west of us is trying to maintain quite cool air from the north and the northeast. But precipitation anomaly still looks quite wet for England and Wales, although it is going slightly drier for Scotland and Northern Ireland. But overall, this looks like a fairly wet spring, with all 3 months having fairly significant rainfall, if the model is correct. The temperature anomaly remains at or slightly milder than average, although it's very hard to make out, but I think parts of southern England might be coming out a little bit on the cooler side. But overall, let's say average to milder than average for all 3 spring months, based on where the model is this month. And then finally, the mean wind direction, the wind arrows, again, they look like they're coming. It's always very difficult to make these out, but they look like they're quite variable. And, well, for the north, I think they are coming down from the north. But from the south, of course, we've got that ridge strengthening across Spain. They are trying to push up southerly winds from there. So a very complicated month with variable wind direction. Overall, I would suspect May is a warmer signal with that ridge strengthening around Spain and Portugal. I think if that comes off, we would tend to drag up much warmer air from the south and from the southwest. Not potentially all that dry. It could still be bringing up bands of rain, maybe even thunder at times. But I think overall May is a warmer signal. For March and April, to me, they are suggesting, particularly March, they should be quite cool months, very unsettled in March as well, so cool, wet, possibility of some snow at times if the temperatures are lower. For April, it looks as though it should be a bit drier, and I think for April, the temperatures, they're going to be quite difficult to predict, because with easterly winds in April, you can either have it quite cold, or you'll be close to average. But an easterly in April certainly isn't going to be all that warm. And then we get through into May, and that does look like a warmer month then, as we get through into May. So that's how I would interpret this month's update of the JMA for the spring. Always highly experimental, of course. Any long-range forecasting is not to be relied upon, and these models are prone to significant errors, as we have seen for the winter that we are just ending. I'll say this update from the JMA will be added to the final seasonal roundup for the spring of 2017, but we're going to do a week on Saturday, last Saturday of February, and the day after that, the Sunday, last Sunday of February, we will be issuing the gazweathers.com spring 2017 forecast. Right, that's it for now. Thanks very much for watching. Later on today, we are going to be having a look at the weather next week, 10 days. That's going to take us more or less almost to the start of spring. So come back to that this afternoon. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.